Psalm 91:11 and 12. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. For he shall give his angels charge over thee. Having treated of this psalm already, I shall not spend much time in showing you the coherence of these words with the former. You see they are brought in with a for he shall give his angels charge over thee, as giving an account and reason of that which was said before. In the former part of the psalm, you read of the saints' protection in, and their deliverance from, the plague and pestilence in the day thereof. At the 10th verse, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. Why? For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. So that here still you have the promise of protection in the time of the plague and pestilence, the means whereby God will protect and deliver. The condition of this promise in these words, keep thee in all thy ways. So that though the danger of the plague and pestilence be never so great, yet if we be found in our ways, God's angels under him shall be our protection. He shall give his angels charge over thee. In which words, you may read the special and singular care and providence of God over his people in the time of plague and pestilence, to be managed by the hands of angels. God will take special order with the angels for the safety of his people in the time of the plague and pestilence. For the clearing of which argument, three things will fall under our consideration. First, that God hath singular care and providence over his children. Secondly, that this care and providence is managed by the hands of angels. Thirdly, that this and all this is and shall be exerted and drawn out specially in the time of the plague and pestilence. As for the first, it is so full and clear in the words, that I shall need go no further. He doth not say that God will provide for his people in the general, but there is a singular and special care and providence that God hath for his people. For if you mind the words, first, says, he will give his angels charge over thee. Charge is a strict command, more than a bare command, as when you would have a servant do a business certainly and fully, you lay a charge upon him. I charge you that you do not neglect that business. You do not barely tell him what he should do, prescribe him his work, but you charge him to do it. So says the Lord unto the angels. My servants are children, now they are in the plague and pestilence. O my angels, I charge you, stir not from their houses, I charge you stir not from such an one's bedside. It is a charge, he shall give his angels charge. Secondly, he doth not only, and will not only charge his angel, but his angels, not one angel charged with the safety of his people, but many angels, for their better guard and security, he shall give his angels charge. And thirdly, he will give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee, charge over thee, and to keep thee not only over the whole church of God, but over every particular member of the church of God, he will give his angels charge over thee. To keep thee, this is his marvelous care. Well, but besides this, he will give his angels charge to keep thee in all thy ways, not in some of thy ways, but in all thy ways. As God's providence is particular in regard of our persons, so it is universal in regard of our ways. He will give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee, not in some, but in all thy ways. But is this all? No, they shall bear thee up in their hands, as every servant desires and loves to take up the young heir, or the young master into his arms, so the angels. It is a great matter, that the Lord promiseth to pitch his tents. And the angels of the Lord shall pitch their tents round about them that fear him, but here is more, the angels shall not only pitch their tents, be their guard, but their nurses to bear them up in their hands, but why? That thou dash not thy foot against a stone. When children begin to go, they are very apt to fall, and get many a knock, to stumble at every little stone. Now there are many stones of stumbling that are in our way, and we are very apt to fall and miscarry. But such is the goodness of God, the providence of God, the goodness of his providence, that is, he hath provided his angels to be our guard. In opposition to all our foreign enemies, so he hath provided his angels to be our nurses, in opposition to all our weaknesses and infirmities, that we get no hurt, that we miscarry not in the least, that we dash not our foot against a stone. Oh, how tender is the Lord of his! In other scriptures the Lord is said to keep his people as the apple of his eye. What is a man more tender of than the apple of his eye? And when doth the Lord keep his people as the apple of his eye, but when they are lowest, and in the worst condition? In the 32nd chapter of Deuteronomy, verse 10, he found him in a desert land, and in the waste howling wilderness. He led him about, he instructed him, he kept him as the apple of his eye. When they came out of Egypt, and when they were in the howling wilderness, the Lord did keep his people then as the apple of his eye, and if you look into the 2nd chapter of Zechariah, you shall find he did the same when they came out of Babylon, Zechariah 2:6. Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. There were some that stayed still behind, that were so wedded to their houses there they would not stir out of Babylon, some of the worst of them, concerning these. He says at the 8th verse, After the glory hath he sent me to the nations which spoiled you, for, he that toucheth you, toucheth the apple of his eye. Sinful, poor, unworthy people, that would not go home when they might. Would not go out of Babylon when they might, yet how tender was the Lord of them. But I say, I shall need go no further than the text. The Lord hath said it, that he will give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways, that you dash not your foot against a stone. So that thus then you see the singular care and providence of God over his servants and children. That is the first. But then, secondly, this care and providence of his is managed by the hands of angels. The angels are the people that are especially bet-rusted with this protection of the saints. Mistake not, not as if the Lord himself did quit his hands of their protection, though the angels should be our protection, yet if God should withdraw his protection and presence, we could not be satisfied with the protection of angels. Look into the 33rd of Exodus, and you shall see there how the Lord, by Moses, tells the people he would send an angel before them. I will send an angel before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. For I will not go up in the midst of thee, for thou art a stiff-necked people, lest I consume thee in the way. What then? And when the people heard these evil tidings, they mourned, and no man did put on him his ornaments. When they heard these evil tidings, what was this evil tidings? That their enemies should all be driven out before them, and that God would honor them with an angel to go before them. Yes, they called this evil tidings because they had not the Lord himself to go before them. So that the bare presence of angels without the Lord himself could not satisfy a gracious soul. Still, therefore, God himself is our great protector, and therefore the angels are said to be sent forth. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth? And who is it that doth send them forth? He whose they are. Whose are they? They are called in the first of the Hebrews, the angels of God, and the text says they are his angels. His, indeed, in the 18th of Matthew, they are called the saints' angels. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones, 10th verse, for I say unto you, that in heaven they're angels, and yet his angels, theirs in regard of profit. For they are sent forth for the good of the elect, but his in regard of authority, they are his servants, his ministers. So that I say still, though the angels have the management of this protection, yet God is the protector of his people. But yet one say, though God be our great protector, and God doth not quit his hands of this protection, yet he hath bet-rusted the protection of the saints very much in the hands of the angels, and therefore they are called cherubims. And wherefore are they called cherubims? Because they do hide and protect. Upon this account the king of Cyrus is called a cherub, in that place of Ezekiel, because of his hiding and protecting the people that were under him. And the angels have wings, not only for their swiftness, but for protection, the wing being for protection as well as to fly with. So that I say, though God be the great protector of his people, yet that protection lies much on the hands of angels. But what need God make use of angels to protect his people? He is able to do it alone, and is it not for God's dishonor to make use of them for the protection of his people? No, it is for the honor of God, for the more honorable the servants are the instruments are that a king or prince doth use for the protecting of his people, the more honorable is that king or prince. Now the angels, they are honorable creatures, frequently they are called gods. Thou hast made him a little lower than the angels. In the Hebrew it is a little lower than the gods, worship him all ye gods, in the Hebrew, all ye angels. Well, but why are the angels called into this protection, into this nursery, into this ministry? God hath several creatures that he can use to protect and safeguard his people. Why are the angels in a special manner called into this work of protection of the saints? They are the fittest people in the world for this employment, fittest in regard of themselves, fittest in regard of the saints. They are fittest in regard of themselves, for, first, they are an exceeding strong and potent people, who more fit to look to and care for the concernments of the saints and people of God than those that are strong and potent. It is said of the angels in the 103rd Psalm, that they excel in strength. Bless the Lord, ye his angels, that excel in strength. Verse 20. They are called powers in the host of God, they are the chariots and the horsemen in Psalm 68:17. The chariots of God are 20,000, even thousands of angels, they are the chariots and horsemen in the host of God, other foot companies he hath. But his chariots and horsemen, they are the angels. One angel, destroyed 180,000 of the host of Assyria in a night. As one constable will scare away 20 thieves, so one good angel, invested with God's authority, is able to drive away 1,000 evil angels. Devils, they are an exceeding strong and potent people. Secondly, as they are an exceeding strong and potent people, so they are a very knowing and a wise people, and who so fit to manage the affairs and concerns of the saints and people of God, and to protect and defend them as a knowing and understanding people. Such are the angels. The devils indeed, they are called knowing, but the angels, good angels, they are called intelligencers. You know what Joab said to David? Thou art for wisdom as an angel of God, says our Savior, no man knoweth that day and time. Know not the angels in heaven, as if the angels in heaven knew every secret, and were acquainted with every hidden thing. They are an exceeding knowing people, very prudent, and very wise. Thirdly, as they are an exceeding knowing and wise people, so they are also exceeding active and expeditious, quick in dispatches, who more fit to protect and defend the saints and people of God than those that are active, expedite, and quick in their dispatches. Such are the angels. In the first of Ezekiel ye read that every one had 4 wings. Why? Because of their great activity and expedition, and the quick dispatch they make in all their affairs. Again, as they are an active and expeditious people, so they are a people very faithful both to God and man. In the 103rd Psalm, they are ready to do God's will, and not only ready to fulfill God's will, but they do it. Bless the Lord, all ye his angels that excel in strength. Verse 20. That do his commandments, hearkening unto the voice of his word. Bless ye the Lord, all ye his hosts, ye ministers of his that do his pleasure. They are very faithful, and who so fit to do this work, to attend and look to the concernments of the saints and people of God, as those that are faithful. Fifthly, as they are an exceeding faithful people, so they are a people that are very loving to the saints and children of God, very loving, otherwise they were not fit to be their nurses. What is a nurse without love? They are loving to the saints. Do it not, said the angel unto John, I am thy fellow servant, Do not give divine worship to me, I am thy fellow servant. Fellow servants are loving to one another, they are fellow servants with the saints. Are the saints and people of God members of Christ, and is Christ their head? So is Christ the Lord of angels, he is the Lord of angels, and they follow him. In Zechariah 1:8, I saw by night, and behold a man riding upon a red horse, and he stood among the myrtle trees that were in the bottom. These myrtle trees in the bottom are saints in a low condition, and behold a man riding upon a red horse. This is Christ, and he stood among the myrtle trees that were in the bottom, and behind him there were red horses speckled, and white behind him. Mark, who are these red horses, speckled and white, in the 9th verse. Then said he, O my Lord, what are these? And the angel that talked with me said unto me, I will show thee what these be. And the man that stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, These are they, whom the Lord hath sent to walk to and fro through the earth. These are the angels that stand behind Christ. That are the followers of Christ, they are his followers. The more union there is betwixt persons, the more they love, and as the union is, such is the love. If there be a natural union betwixt persons, their love will be natural. If their union be civil, political, their love will be political, civil. If the union be spiritual, ecclesiastical, the love is spiritual, ecclesiastical, more than natural. Now the union that is betwixt the angels and the saints, it is a church union. Ye are come, says the apostle in Hebrew 12:22, unto Mount Shaun, and unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and church of the firstborn, so that they are of the same church. The general assembly and church of the firstborn, and therefore they must needs be an exceeding loving people to the saints and people of God, and therefore a people fit for this employment, of all other the fittest for this employment, to be employed under God for the protection of the saints. Fittest in regard of themselves. But then again, secondly, fittest they are for this employment in regard of the saints, for who more fit to be employed in this protection under God, the protection of the saints, than those that are in some respect above the saints, and in some respect beneath them, if a nurse be above the child. She may despise it, if the child be altogether above the nurse cannot rule it. Now the angels they are in some respect beneath and in some respect above the saints. They are above the saints in regard of their nature, as you all know, but in some respects they are beneath the saints and below the saints, for the second person did not come into their nature. As he did into the nature of the saints, he took not on him the nature of angels, but he took on him the seed of Abraham, and in that respect the saints are above them, and the saints are clothed with the righteousness of Christ. Such a garment as never came upon the back of an angel. Herein the saints are above the angels, and the saints and people of God, they are members of Christ, and therein above the angels. Christ is the Lord of angels, but you don't read that the angels are the members of Christ. So that I say, in some respect the angels are beneath the saints, and in some respect above them, and so the more fit for this employment. Ye see how it is with a mean man that sits at dinner at a nobleman's table. He sits down at the table with the nobleman, and the servants of the nobleman, they attend upon him. Maybe the servants are better men than he, but because he sits down at the nobleman's table. These servants attend upon him, as upon their master. Now the saints and people of God are members of Christ, they have communion with Christ, and sit down at his table, and therefore his followers the angels. They attend upon the saints and people of God, and thus now ye see why the angels are in a special manner called to this work of protection of the saints and people of God. Well, but then, thirdly, why are the angels called to this work of protection of the saints, especially in the time of plague and pestilence? Why doth the Lord give a special charge to his angels to have a special care of his people in the time of the plague and pestilence? Why at that time especially? First of all, that time is a time of the greatest danger. When should the nurse look unto the child, if not in the greatest danger? Now in the time of the greatest danger, then come the angels to the succor of God's people. In the 32nd chapter of Genesis, we read of the angels meeting of Jacob. At the first verse, Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him, and when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's host." They met him then. Why then? He had a vision when he went out from his country, a promise in the way of a vision, the angels ascending and descending, and now he had the promise accomplished upon his return. Why then? Then he was in the greatest danger. He was betwixt Laban and Esau, and though he had passed the pikes of Laban, yet now he was to meet an old provoked enemy, a wicked man, Esau, insomuch that he was grievously afraid, and he prayed, "Lord, deliver me from the hand of my brother." Well, and what then? Then comes the angels, then comes this great danger, and then come the angels, and he called the name of the place Mahanaim. It is the same expression that is used in the 6th chapter of Canticles, concerning the Jews returning unto their own country, at the 13th verse, "Return. Return, O Shulamite, return, return, that we may look upon thee. What will ye see in the Shulamite?" In the Jews returning, as it were the company of Mahanaims, two armies you read it, but it is the same word. Why? Possibly to show that God will send a host of angels to guard the Jews into their country, as he sent a host of angels to guard their father Jacob into his country. But I bring this to show that when the saints and people of God are in greatest danger, then come the angels to succor them. Now the time of sickness and of the plague is a time of great danger. Secondly, look, when all visible means and helps fail, then is a fit time for invisible help to come in. Now the help of the angel is invisible, his hands are under his wings, you cannot see his help. When all visible means and helps fail, then comes God's invisible help, then come the angels, a fit time for the angels. But thirdly, look, when the destroying angel is abroad, then is a fit time for the protecting angel to step in, and be at work. Now in the time of the plague and pestilence, the destroying angel is abroad. Only here then this question doth arise, whether the destroying angel and the protecting angel differ? Whether they be divers, or the same? I shall resolve it in 2 or 3 positions. First, although the same angel may destroy and spare, as in David's time, yet the destroying angel and the protecting angel seems to be divers. In the 7th of Revelation, 4 angels came out to hurt, and another angel came out to save. In the 9th of Ezekiel, 6 men came out with their slaughter weapons in their hands, and another came out to mark. The second position is this: as the destroying and protecting angel may seem to be diverse, so God doth sometimes employ an evil angel to afflict and destroy good men, and doth sometimes employ a good angel to afflict and destroy bad men. Sometimes God doth employ a good angel to afflict and destroy wicked men, as in the case of Sodom, they were good angels that destroyed Sodom. Sometimes on the other side, God doth employ evil angels to afflict, and shall I use the word destroy, good men. The devil wasted Job, and killed his children. But thirdly, though the angels may be thus employed, the destroyer, and the protector, yet this is certain, that all protection of the saints falls into the hands and the lap of the good angels, for he shall give his angels charge over thee. His, why his? In distinction from the devils, and evil angels, that did not stay by him, but left him in the time of their apostasy, and they shall bear thee in their arms. Devils do not bear the saints in their arms, therefore the business of the saints' protection. This falls wholly upon the good angels to do. But look, I say, when the destroying angel is abroad, then is a fit time for the protecting angel to be abroad too. Now in the time of the plague and pestilence, the destroying angel is abroad, therefore then especially is the good angel to be at work for the protection of the saints. Fourthly, the time of the plague is a time when the saints and people of God may want outward provision. Good people may be shut up and starved for want of victuals. In the time of the plague, now it is the work of the good angels to provide meat and victuals for the people of God. Sometimes, in 1 Kings 19:5, it is said of Elijah, that as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, an angel touched him, and said unto him, Arise and eat, and he looked, and behold there was a cake baked on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head, and he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time, and touched him, and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. Fifthly, the time of the plague and pestilence, as it is a time of want of provision, so it is a time when many of God's people are put to go for it, to fly for it, to run for it, to seek abroad for their houses and habitations. Do not know which way to go. It is the work of a good angel to go before them, to order and direct their way. In Genesis 24:7, says Abraham to his servant, He shall send his angel before thee. It is the work of a good angel to order and direct, and guide the people of God in their way. Lastly, the time of the plague and pestilence is a time when people need physicians and surgeons and physicians against their malady. A good angel can do this, and sometimes doth it, in John 5:4. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water, whosoever then first after the troubling of the water stepped in, was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. This is the work of an angel, to prepare a medicine. This is the work of an angel. But you will say, all these instances are extraordinary. What is this to me in this time of the plague and sickness? What is this to me? These are extraordinary things. Does their ministry still continue or no? Mark, yes certainly, the Lord of hosts is with us, the God of Jacob is our refuge, and how God was the God of Jacob, and how his refuge, ye heard even now, in Hebrews 1:7. It is said, and of the angel he saith, who mocketh his angel spirits, and his ministers a flame of fire, who mocketh, in the present tense, as if it were always doing, not asterisk who hath made, but who mocketh his angel spirits, and his ministers a flame of fire. It is the present tense, it is continually doing, and if you look into the Old Testament, and compare the cherubims that were in the tabernacle with the cherubims that were in the temple, you shall find that the cherubims that were in the tabernacle were but 2, and the cherubims that were in the temple were 4. Why? But to show that their protection shall rather be enlarged than lessened, in the first chapter of John, says our Savior Christ there to Nathanael, last verse, Verily, verily, I say unto you that hereafter ye shall see heaven opened, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man, hereafter. This is a gospel truth. And the more you know and see the mystery of the gospel revealed, the more will this mystery be revealed to you. Hereafter ye shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending, hereafter in gospel times, and pray mark the words of the text, he shall give his angels charge over thee, say you. I confess this is a comfortable truth, the protection of angels in the time of the plague and pestilence especially. But what is this to me? Yes, says he shall give his angels charge over thee. Now pray tell me when you read the commandments, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt do no murder, do ye think that the thou there doth belong to you? Yes, I dare not steal, I dare not do any murder, I dare not commit adultery. For it is said, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, and this thou belongs to me. And why should not the thee of the promise belong to you, as well as the thou of the commandment? Oh, that those that are afflicted and troubled in conscience would think but of this one thing. If thou concernest thyself in the thou of the commandment, thou art concerned in the thee of the promise. The thee of the promise concerns thee as certainly as the thou of the commandment, and thus now ye see I have gone through the doctrine. The Lord hath a singular care and providence over his people, especially in the time of the plague and pestilence, which is managed by the hands of angels. God will take special order with the angels for the safety of his people in the time of the plague and pestilence.